Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 2015 Audi S1. Now this is based on the first generation A1, with this being the performance version, which was produced between 2014 and 2018. And to aid it in being the performance vehicle of the range, it's got a 6-speed manual gearbox and Haldex Quattro 4-wheel drive, which is permanent, and that's pretty much needed given the rather beefy engine that it's got under the bonnet. It's got a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine producing 228 horsepower and 241 pounds-feet of torque. Now sure, that isn't quite as much as the likes of a Ford Focus RS or a Mercedes-Benz A45 AMG, but as far as mid-range 200 to 250 horsepower hot hatches go, this is pretty much bang in the middle, while also having very little in the way of weight at 2,899 pounds, which is unusual for a four-wheel drive hot hatchback to weigh as little as that. So the fact it's got 228 horsepower, a fair decent amount of torque and four-wheel drive means that this, in terms of acceleration, is easily one of the best in the mid-range of hot hatchbacks that are going on. And it's got a reasonable amount of interior space as well. The interior itself is reasonably equipped. It's obviously all going to be put together really nicely, being an Audi, but yeah, there's certainly cars out there with more equipment, even from the same period. But on the whole, it is still rather nice, and like I said, being an Audi, it's going to be well built. Rear space isn't the best, but I'm sure you could still get kids in the back of there, and boot space is also really rather nice, as you can see. And I'm sure the rear seats can fold down as well to make it even bigger. In terms of looks, I really like the front. The side profile I'm not quite as much of a fan of, because it does look like an elongated Fiat 500 in a lot of ways. And I'm not a massive fan of the rear either, because of those rear headlights, which just make it look needlessly angry. But it does have 4 exhausts, a nice spoiler, pretty decently sized wheels that also look pretty nice as well. And on the whole, it just looks mostly nicely well sorted hot hatchback. So nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. Now, being all-wheel drive is a great benefit to an everyday kind of car like this. Sorry, I don't know why the game is currently doing that kind of 2-time glitch thing, but can't be helped. But yeah, four-wheel drive on a everyday kind of hot hatchback like this is always a benefit, especially when you got winter conditions like this. It means that it can pretty much deal with any kind of weather conditions that it's going to be dealt with. Obviously it's not an SUV, so it's not going to be going off-road, but the four-wheel drive will help with ice, snow, and really heavy wet conditions, which is always good to see. And it also means that the car is able to deal with the power that it has, because there's nothing worse than a hot hatchback having a lot of power and a lot of torque, and the front wheel just not being able to deal with it. So the all-wheel drive is a welcome addition for that reason as well. I'll let you listen to the car for a little bit, because its engine note is a little bit varied in terms of quality for me, but I'll let you guys hear it to make your own mind up. So it sounds alright for the most part, but it's only really when it gets up to about 6,000 RPM that it sounds like a sporty car. Before then it's got a little bit of a drone on the go, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's usual for cars that have small engines and really rather large turbochargers to make up for the smaller engines. So it's nothing that's unusual in these kind of cars. Handling wise, well, it's on point, as a lot of Audis are. Sure, the engine is way up front, but unlike a lot of other bigger Audis, it's not obviously a large engine, so there's very little in the way of weight up front. But the addition of all-wheel drive does make the weight balance a bit off. It's 60% up front and 40% up rear, so even though it has all-wheel drive, and yeah, it's quite a small car. There is still a hell of a lot of weight up front. But even though obviously that's a lot of weight up front, there isn't a lot of weight to this car in general. So even though it is 60%, there's very little in the way of weight at being under £2,900. So yeah, it doesn't really affect the car all that much. There's a hint of understeer, but that's again typical of a lot of hot hatchbacks. So yeah, there's nothing really out of the usual with that. But because it's got all-wheel drive, means you can throw it around into corners and the rear end will step out. But because it's got the all-wheel drive, it means it's not going to be losing grip or anything like that, because the power can be shifted around to make sure the car doesn't go spinning out or crashing into anything that's off the road. So yeah, on the whole, it's a really rather solid hot hatchback. It's not my favourite by any means, purely because I think the looks are a bit half and half, and the engine noise is a bit half and half, and obviously there are more powerful and more exciting hot hatchbacks out there. But as a hot hatchback that is meant to, you know, be quick and be fun to drive, it mostly succeeds on those fronts, but it's also able to be used every day. So yeah, it's got the basics of a hot hatchback down to a T pretty much. So yeah, it's a cracking car. I'm not sure if they are bringing out a new S1 to fit the new A1 generation that's was released in 2018, but if there is, then I hope it's even better than this. As yeah, even the I think a standard 2-litre A1 has about 197 horsepower, so hopefully a S1 version has even more horsepower than this, while hopefully improving the looks and the engine noise. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.